All right, man. We about to start this show. What's good? What's good?
Man, let me tell you about what's about to happen for this Memorial Day barbecue, though, man.
Woo!
Man, we getting the chicken right with the jerk seasoning, the jerk marinade.
Okay.
Ahi tuna steaks, regular steaks, bro. Chicken sausage, bro. We getting it. We getting it this weekend,
you doing
bro.
it big, man. You doing it big.
Yes, sir. Man. Gotta celebrate, man.
You might as well go live and show the people how it's looking, bro. You might as well.
Man, I might.
Make sure to clock in, hit that like button, comment, subscribe, hit that notification, man. All that good stuff, man. We got a great show coming up, man. Here we go.
Great Pharaoh. The gift of Troy is a fabulous fabric from the land of the 5 rivers.
Years ago, when we came to Los Angeles, I really believed that the greatness of the Raiders would be in its future.
One of them hits now. Heard back from Earth, they just shot a few of my ships down. It's safe to say I'm totally pissed. Wow, my cloaking devices just malfunction. Guess it's time for a sit down. This is the problem I got with humans, mostly the common man. Constantly fucking with energy they don't understand. Always thinking they got the upper hand. The G-forces from my maneuvers can snap your spine like a rubber band. I shouldn't waste my time, they ain't half as nice. Put a Red Bull in your coffin so your ghost can have wings in the afterlife. Let's rock and roll like a belly dancer's rhinestone. It was my idea to shake the pineal gland like a pine cone. My thoughts create hurricanes, tornadoes, and cyclones. A punch for me is like an avalanche of granite and limestone. You live here, now this is my home. I neuralize both your retinas, you wake up staring at the screen of your iPhone. confused by the light plus the high tone. And now we connected from the microchip I placed next to your thigh bone. It's hard to understand cause your mind blown, but I gotta cut communication. Your government just scrambled they spy drones.
That voice speaking Sumerian, the oldest language in human history.
I can't explain it.
What's good? What's good? We back. We are back, man. The collab continues, man. The collab continues, man. As you can see on the screen, we got Big Mike Raider, the Severe Raider, and myself, PharoahNFL, man. We got a lot to talk about. Mini camp. Hey, you know what? Let's start this show off right. I mean, you know, it's sad to say that we got to announce this, but we didn't get a chance to actually, you know, me and Severe talked about the other day. We didn't get a chance to address this on our show. But yeah, man, rest in peace to the late great Jim Otto, man. He passed away this weekend. One of the Mr. Raider, I mean the original Raider, man. I think that I always say that, like, when I think everybody can relate to this, like, as fans of the Raiders, we all get baptized on that old Raider footage and players, and one of the guys we always see is Jim Otto, man. But rest in peace to Jim Otto, man. Pro Football Hall of Fame, class of 1980, 10 times All-Pro, one of 17 men to play in all 10 AFL seasons, which takes it all the way back before my time. But much respect to Jim Otto, man. He passed away this weekend, man. So rest in peace to Jim Otto, man. Any thoughts on Jim?
Yeah, man, you said it perfectly, man. He was that indoctrination to becoming a Raider, man. Just I grew up watching a lot of NFL films with John Facenda doing the narration and doing the autumn wind and stuff. Old school, hard-nosed type of player, played center. He was just one of those true definition of a Raider. He's known as the original Raider. He was there from the beginning. And he wore 00. I mean, how hard-nosed could it be to be, like, right in the middle of the offense, being the brains of the offense and wearing a 00, man? To me, he's one of my favorite Raiders of all time. He's just one of those guys. He's one of those football guys, a hard-nosed guy, generational talent at the center position at that time, and he's definitely going to be missed. Once a Raider, always a Raider, from womb to the tomb and beyond, man. Rest in peace to Jim Otto, man. Appreciate everything that he's done, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I see you with the jersey too, man. I got to get my jersey too, man. But
facts, man. You got to go old school with the jerseys nowadays. Yeah, but man. Yeah, man. But both you guys hit it off. You know, it was pitch perfect, man. Just in terms of who Jim Otto was, or what he meant to the Raiders. You know, all 15 of his years spent with the Raiders, 10 times All-Pro. I think he was 13-time like Pro Bowler or like All-Star player. You know, he's a guy that was undersized. He was considered undersized, but you know, he was one of the meanest dudes on the field. I know out of the U, you know, he is he's one of the many great players that come out of that university. And you know, just think about everything he meant to the Raiders and what he meant to Raider Nation. Like, this guy, you know, you see the film, right? As Mike was talking about, you see like his face bloodied and beaten. The dude didn't have no face mask basically at all. This is old times, bro. He's like his whole damn face is exposed. And you know, he's playing back then, man. Back then, though, the head slap was legal. So he's getting like clubbed in the face, like, you know, probably on the play-by-play basis and having to take that. And you know, and eventually, you know, like, unfortunately, he ended up, you know, basically gave his right leg, man. He gave his right leg, you know. I'm sure a lot of that had to do with, you know, the type of injuries and stuff, and type of beating he took while playing for the Raiders, man. So this man, and he was asked about it, and he said he wouldn't change a thing, man. So that is a true Raider right there, man. Just appreciate everything he did for this organization and what he represents.
I got a crazy stat for you, man. Like, so he started the franchise first 223 games at center, and he never missed a game.
Wow,
crazy. And every time I think of that Autumn Wind song, the Autumn Wind is a pirate. Yeah. I always it's ingrained in my memory, in my head, like just seeing Jim Otto is one of the guys that you see a pop up on the screen.
Yeah,
with a beaten helmet and you know, like bleeding.
He's got
and,
that. He's got that old rusty looking helmet,
Yeah,
staring off
man.
at a distance on the sideline. Yeah,
Yep.
bro, he's iconic, man. Iconic Raider, the original Raider, man, for sure.
Facts.
Yeah, man.
Facts,
But yeah,
man.
rest in peace, Jim Otto, man, one of the great representatives for the silver and black. That being said, Raiders did have a mini camp. I think started on voluntary mini camp. I should say it started on Monday, but it was open to the media on. Let me put this up right here
on Tuesday.
On Tuesday, so let me actually
Going
put this
up
up
on a Tuesday.
Let me go ahead and put this on here so you guys can see the full off-season schedule here. 1 second here. Let me put this on the screen. Boom. I think you should see it right quick. There you go.
There we go.
Man, let me. The tabs is crazy. I know. Severe got something to say right there.
No comment, bro. No comment at all, man.
Well, look, here we go. So this off-season program's first day was April 15th. Shout out to Raider Room. I was able to get this from him, and it was a nice little. Let me see if I can. It should show more than that. The mandatory mini camp is actually in June, so you can see it on the screen. May 2021st. Then they come back at May 23rd, and they do it. They come back again May 28th and 29th. And then June 3rd to the 6th. But mandatory minicamp is also in June as well. I'm trying to see if I could pull up the date. That being said, there were some highlights. There were some missing players. It was a good turnout. 78 players showed up. But Zamir White wasn't a part of the turnout on Tuesday. I mean, he could have been in the building on Monday. Who knows? But Zamir White wasn't there. Amir Abdullah. Gallup, Devontae Adams, people kind of they were going crazy with that one.
Enough.
They were trying to connect the dots with that one.
Yeah, come on, man. Enough. We've been through this too many times, bro.
Man.
Yep. And recently signed Jalen Guyton also wasn't a part of it. Thule Griffin, Colton Miller. Hopefully all of these guys are good and healthy. I mean, they probably got their own little offseason planned out, so maybe that's the reason why they're not here. Matthew Butler, Nesta Jade, Darren Butler, and Jack Jones also wasn't available. I think this is something that Raider Nation doesn't want to hear. I believe Jackson Powers Johnson got hurt. He got a little banged up, so he wasn't able to finish. Yeah, so hopefully that's nothing too serious. It's early in off season, so hopefully he'll recover and he'll be good to go for the rest of the off season, including training camp and the season. But that's one of the big things that I heard. But yeah, also, you know, were there anything that you guys caught from minicamp before I get to the pressers?
I know we're going to be talking a little bit about Aiden O'Connell. I don't want to get too much on what we're going to talk about later, but Aiden O'Connell looks like a pro now, body-wise, physically. He's definitely been in the weight room. It's evident. It's been showing that he is, and he's slinging that ball out there. He looks good. And Gardner Minshew looks good as well. It's going to be an interesting competition between the two. And I'm looking forward to it, man. We'll see what we're going to get from these quarterbacks, but it's going to be an iron sharpening iron type of situation. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, man. Severe, did you have any thoughts on what happened with minicamp? Anything that you were hearing that might have caught your attention?
Yeah, man. I was hearing that Michael Mayer was out there looking impressive, looking explosive, looking athletic, man. So that is a positive sign. I know a lot of people expected him to be a big part of our offense last year. Unfortunately, you know, he had a tough time at the beginning of the year, and then he ended his year with the turf toe. So I know a lot of people had some questions about how he would recover from that, because there have been people who have had the injury and it's lingered. But, you know, from all intents and purposes, it seems that he's back and 100% and looking better than he ever has, man. So excited about that.
Yeah, I think I have something on that. This is Jackson Powers. This is Tashawn Reed reporting that Jackson Powers Johnson also got banged up during practice and left early. and I also got something should have something for you on the pretty much it was one of the beat reporters talking about Dylan Lobby and Michael Mayer kind of like standing out early in minicamp. But this is the shorts Olympics. Like at the end, it's super early. Yeah. It's good to hear guys making plays, but we know it is early. It's super early before we can even assume anything. But we got high hopes for Michael Mayer, especially Dylan Lobby too as well. That's another guy that we hopefully could be a contributor to this team. But it's gonna be an uphill battle just because he's a rookie running back, third, and his skill set is kind of like that third down running back role. And are we gonna be 100% comfortable with this guy on third down where he has to pick up a blitz? It's gonna be a tough task for him. I don't know, but we'll have plenty of time to talk about that. Let's actually get into the pressers. Let's get into the pressers, man. So on Tuesday, or I should say Tuesday, Patrick Graham, the OC, Luke Getsy, and Tom McMahon, special teams coordinator, was able to talk to the media, as well as Michael Mayer and Tyree Wilson. They were able to talk to the media, and then we'll get into AOC having that podcast with Max Crosby, the Rush podcast, which I thought was pretty good. Shout out to them. Make sure to check it out. What were your early impressions on the pressers? What were your thoughts before I play some of the clips here?
Just the change in demeanor, the change in tone from our second year guys. They really seemed a little timid last year. They seemed a little bit soft spoken, but this year they're showing more character. They're showing more excitement and enthusiasm. Is it because of Josh McDaniels and the change of pace, the change of philosophy, the change of environment for in comparison from last year to this year? It could be, or they're just comfortable in their position and comfortable with being a pro. I don't know. You could be the judge of that one, but they sound like completely different men in these press conferences in comparison to last year.
Yeah, no, facts. They seem a little bit more confident second year players at this point. And I think that's true for a lot of people. I mean, with experience, when you have more experience, you're going to be more confident in what you do. Severe, like, is there any thoughts on the pressers? Anything coming up that you want to? Because I know you checked them out. You heard a lot of people talk. What were like kind of your early impressions on some of the coaches and the players that talked today?
Same thing, man. Tyree last year, I clowned him a little bit just because of how awkward some of his interviews would be, man. But he seems much more confident. Dude looks like he's in fantastic shape, like excellent shape, man. So I'm hoping that he has a breakout year. And Michael Mayer seems like an alpha, man. That dude seems like a dude that could potentially be like one of the leaders on the team. No matter who's here, be a guy that can be a voice, especially in that tight ends room. Got a rookie coming in, and you got a guy who's kind of not necessarily a journeyman, but more so of a role player. So I think it would benefit that room if he was able to take the lead in there. And then Patrick Graham, man, I think Patrick Graham, I just have all the confidence in that dude. I have since we hired him. And I'm just hoping we're able to hold on to him, man, because he has just the look and the feel of a guy that should be the head coach of an organization. So I know that the trend in the NFL is to hire young offensive coordinators, and I hope that trend continues because, I want to keep Patrick Graham here for as long as we possibly can.
Yeah, man, I agree 100%, man. That's a great thing for the Raiders to have, a guy that literally you could see him be potentially a head coach, but we got him as an assistant coach, defensive coordinator. So we got high hopes for that defense, that side of the ball. Speaking of Patrick Graham, let me go ahead and play this clip here where he talks about Tyree and his possible role next year. And is he going to play D tackle? Is he going to keep that role? What is he going to be playing? And let me go ahead and play this clip here 1 second here. Let me go ahead and play it real quick. See, there you go. Here, see what he says.
Observations of Tyree now that he's had an offseason where he can really devote all of his focus to football.
Well, the move in the defensive end inside, that's always been a part of just like for any rookie edge rusher, both for myself and for Robbie Leonard, who's our D-line coach, who does a great job. It teaches them to use their hands, and because they're dealing with a more immediate block from the guard or the center. So I thought that was really critical to Tyree's development. That's going to help him out on the edge. I've told you before, we utilized that before in the past, the different spots I've been. So that was good. And then with the whole offseason, he's doing what everybody else is doing. You know, I won't single him out, but they're all working hard. They got great kinship or camaraderie going on in that D-line room, and it's infectious, and it's spreading throughout the defense. And you can always feel those guys out there on the field, whether you hear them or you feel them. It's a beautiful thing to see.
Your observations of Tyree now that he's had an offseason where he can really.
So what are you, Mike? What is your take on what Patrick Graham was talking about here? Because obviously the beat writer, I think it was Vinny asking him about him possibly playing D tackle. Is that going to be a role for him? Do you actually see him playing inside more than he plays outside? Like, what do you see for Tyree Wilson next season?
I think it was part of the developmental process from last year. I said last year, and I got to eat crow. I thought he was an immediate bust from what he was showing on the field at the beginning of the season last year. To me, I mean, you can go back on old videos. I said he plays football like a basketball player. Just not very physical. Didn't know how to really use his hands. He seemed like a one of those, like a puppy with big paws, like a big puppy with big paws, and don't really know what to do with their body. That's what Tyree Wilson seemed to me last year. He comes back, physically, he looks the part now. He's got that development from last year going on, kind of going in that 3 technique and that interior, messing around with the interior line and learning how to use those hands and being more physical. And I think it was brilliant from, the staff that kind of set him up to do that. I think that this year the game is going to slow down for him, and he's going to be able to be a force at stopping the run, setting the edge, because he's able to use his hands on less physical right, left tackles. And on top of that, using his athleticism to go after the quarterback in pass rushing situations. I think he's going to play a little bit of both because of that. I'm really looking forward to seeing his developmental, as training camp progresses, him continuing that, development on the inside and the outside, and seeing how versatile he can be when the season starts. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what he can do.
Yeah, facts, man. So you kind of see him playing in inside long, 3rd and long type of situation, maybe NASCAR package.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. Like he did mention that he lost some weight in the presser. Yep. He's at 255. So it's early in the off season, so we'll he probably will gain all that back by training camp. Who knows?
Right.
That being said, Severe, what are your takes on what was said here, man? Do you think that I know Mike is said what he said, but what are your thoughts on Tyree Wilson in the presser and his position? And we're gonna actually play his clip in a second too as well. But what are your thoughts on what Patrick Graham was saying?
Yeah, man, this is something that Patrick Graham actually spoke about last year. This is something that he said that him and Robbie Leonard, or him particularly, I don't know if he mentioned Robbie Leonard, but there was something that he did with Chandler Jones. Now, Chandler Jones aside, that's a whole different, topic. But that's something they said they did early with him because coming out of school, hand usage wasn't his strong suit. And the same thing with Tyree. When you're on the edge, a lot of times you could do a lot of thinking, and when you're inside, it's more so reacting. And once you kind of build those skills and kind of, work on that technique, and when that technique becomes second nature and you're not thinking, you're just reacting, then you're playing, much more confidently. And I think, his demeanor, I think, is somewhat of a byproduct of that confidence that he built from what he had last year. It's like a little bit of a strange, not say a strange analogy, but like, I'd probably dating myself, but it used to be a game, for you young kids, called Guitar Hero. And Guitar Hero, and like Guitar Hero, there was like different settings, right? You can like start on beginner, then it was like easy, then it was medium. Like me, I started on beginner, right? So it was like basically just strumming the thing, and it was super easy. But then when I got up to medium, like it was difficult as heck, right? But my cousin, he just started the game. He started playing on me, so he learned to play on medium. So that was just all he knew. So that's basically what moving a guy inside is like, right? Because when you're playing Guitar Hero medium, everything is coming at you fast. So you just gotta you gotta strum, you gotta move your fingers, and it's like playing D tackle. Everything is coming at you fast. You got big guys coming at you fast. You got guys that can blindside you. Like you got to be aware of all that stuff. When you're outside on the edge, you're kind of in no man's land. And so I think that's kind of the analogy for him. Like once you have things moving that fast for you, when you move outside, things are so much slower.
No, facts, man.
And for the record, man, I never passed the medium on Guitar Hero. I couldn't get past that medium, bro. That was rough.
Man. But going back to Tyree though, man, like I have high hopes for Tyree, man. I know you thought possibly he could have been a bust early on. I'm sure that's probably Raider trauma right there. Like, man, is this another guy that we missed on in the first round? But that being said, I feel like Tyree's like in a perfect situation, and what I like is that the Raiders have a plan for him. Now, early on, there was a bump. They had to make a U-turn. They had to make an adjustment because I don't think they planned to play him that early, especially coming back from that injury. Because Chandler Jones situation, we all know what happened with the Chandler Jones situation. That just came out of left field. We didn't expect that to happen. That being said, he did play early on. We seen that, he didn't look all the way back, his get off, all that good stuff, like all that stuff that happened last season where he had to get over. And he kind of got better as the season went on. But I like that the Raiders have a plan for him. I like how Patrick Graham was like, you know what, this is what we do with pass rushers. We move them inside so they can work on their hands to get better. And then when I say that it's a perfect situation, he's playing with Max Crosby on the other side, man.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he literally can be a sponge, learning the game from one of the NFL great pass rushers, as well as, and we're going to hear him talk too, about his other teammates like Christian Wilkins, where he could obviously learn from and grow from. So it's a great situation for him. And then third year in the offense, I feel like right now, if you're a player on that defense, I think you're winning right now because how long when's the last time we've had a defensive coordinator for 3 years straight? I mean, Paul Gunther, but then that was just like Paul Gunther's a terrible example. He should have got fired after the first year.
He got fired after a second year. I thought, like midway, part of the way through a second.
I felt like Gruden was stubborn, man. Like he held on him for a little bit too long.
He definitely overstayed his welcome. I don't know how long it was, but it seemed like forever.
Yeah,
right.
If it was 2 years, it felt like 5.
Right. So I'm excited to see a defense where the players have played in the defense for 3 years straight. So that's something to look forward to. And I don't think there's a whole lot of pressure on Tyree. I mean, there's pressure on him, but like he's playing around other good players around him, which could make his life a lot easier, especially guys like Kuntz and stuff like that came up strong last season. But let's actually get to Tyree Wilson's presser. He was able to talk the other day too, that with as well as Patrick Graham. So let's see what he has to say. Go ahead and put this on the screen for everybody to see. All right.
Little dry season.
I was definitely playing catch up and still limited in the movement just because of the foot.
Tyree, Coach Graham talked earlier today about how much he thinks moving you inside last year will just help you with the process even on the edge. Can you talk about that?
I mean, me bumping inside really just slowed down the thinking and help with my eyes and my hands because he really really don't have much time to think. It's on you quick, so all you can do is react, and then when you work that in the inside and then move back outside, everything slows back down.
Blue dry season.
I was definitely.
So Mike, man, what are your thoughts on what Tyree? And there's another clip that I'm gonna play too as well. But what are your early thoughts on what Tyree had to say about his, coming back from that injury, and also addressing the benefit of playing inside?
I mean, shoot, Severe said it perfectly. The best analogy is the Guitar Hero thing. It's the going on the inside and playing at medium speed, playing at that medium, and then going back to the outside. And then that's the equivalent of going from medium back to easy. Now the easy is super slow motion for you, and but that's an analogy, right? I mean, the both positions are very difficult to play. I'm not trying to say one is easier than the other, but when you are learning how to be physical, and you finally get it, and you go to a place where you don't have to be as physical, you can use a little bit more finesse, then you're just adding another tool to what you already have. You're becoming more, not one-dimensional, not a guy that's just using your athleticism and kind of your raw ability to get after the quarterback or whatever. He's adding more to his tool set, and I'm like I said earlier, man. I think this year is going to be a big year for him. I think that he's going to finally find his way. He's healthy. He looks like he's in great shape. His demeanor's great. I like everything I see from Tyree Wilson right now.
Yeah. And, I got a question, man. Like, would you say, pass rushers are probably the easiest position group to like the D-line is the easiest position group to evaluate out of all the other position groups? Just because, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, just because you see the explosiveness, you see the athletes, like you can see the length, like you can easily project them a little bit better than other positions, which, obviously there's a lot more. I'm not saying that it takes a lot to play D-line, but would you say it's easier to evaluate like that talent compared to other positions?
I would say about half of it is effort. Max Crosby is an effort guy. You know what I mean? He's not overly physical. Like, he's not one of those guys you look at physically and is like, oh man, like he's supremely physically gifted or anything like that. But what he does have is a motor, and what he does have is that give a F mentality to continue going after it. And that's part of the battle when it's coming to kind of evaluating defensive players, particularly the edge, defensive ends, and even D tackles, that motor to continue going after it, even when you're kind of getting blocked, going, especially like coming off the backside and making a play like that, running down the line, continuing after it, even when you're kind of away from the play, but you find yourself in a position where now you're the one making the play. That is one of those things that I look at when I evaluate defensive ends. Second thing I look at is physicality. Are you using your hands? How well are you using your hands? How low are you as far as leverage and low pad length in comparison to the tackle across from you? How good is your bend? Are you at a 45-degree angle coming around that corner? Are you setting the edge on on defense, trying to stop the run? Are you getting separation with your hands? Are you using your physical God-gifted abilities? Like, if you have a long reach, are you using that to your advantage? Are you really strong? Are you, using that? So that's what I look at as far as defensive ends. And I think that in comparison to other positions, I think it is probably the easier one to kind of evaluate, because a lot of it is effort and God-given ability. Mm-hmm. And then, you also look at technique in that situation, but the technique for a lot of other positions kind of come before the God-gifted abilities, because as a corner, like if we, throwing for example, like a corner, mm-hmm. you're looking at technique before God-gifted abilities, because everybody in that position is, God-gifted, their physicality, their speed, they all have it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of different. So you're right. You're right. It's probably one of the more easier positions to evaluate.
So I'm gonna throw this to Severe because when I know you early on, like I remember last year when Tyree got drafted, you were like, you called in and you were like, man, like you weren't too big on the pick just because, and you called it out too. And one of the biggest things that you talked about was his get off. And yeah, and you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and play this clip, and then we'll let Severe address it. But Tyree pretty much he talks about that, man. He talks about that was one of the things that he wanted to improve on in the offseason, and I'm gonna go ahead and let him.
Tyree, AP said you kind of got away and went back home this offseason. What did you kind of focus on during that time? Was it just kind of relax, or what kind of did your offseason program entail?
Man, you know, every guy needs different things in your training. So, you know, I went back home and just, you know, worked on the eating habits, worked on the get off, worked on me. You know, just get away from coaches that's, you know, working with everybody and just had somebody that focused on me, and then came back here and there and worked out with Max and worked out with the guys.
Tyree, AP said you kind of got away and went back home this offseason. What did you kind of focus on during that time? Was it just kind of relax, or what kind of did your offseason?
So Severe. So early on, you called it. I remember you telling me like, "Hey, his get off, it's just not there. It's not what you want in a pass rusher." Do you think there's hope? There's a potential that he could turn it around. He could be a productive player a good player for the Raiders. I mean, do you see some stuff in him that you could potentially, all right, you know what, he might have a chance to be a guy for the Raiders if he improves on this? I mean, obviously the get off, but like you heard him talk about it. You heard him talk about how like he's working on his game and all that good stuff, man. So what were your thoughts on what he had to say?
So I mean, it's ironic. It's ironic because, like, because people think I hated Tyree as a player, and it's very like my evaluation of Tyree is very similar to my evaluation of Brock Bowers, where as a prospect I like them both as a prospect, but as individual picks for our team, I didn't like them, and for some similar reasons, but for different reasons. Like with Tyree, it was I thought we needed a defensive tackle, potentially the best player in the draft played that position, and that was a weak defensive tackle class, while the edge class was a pretty deep class, and I didn't really feel we needed an edge. So I never really had a problem with Tyree as a prospect, but there were things I pointed out in his game that would keep him from being a productive player. The number one thing I noticed, I said on tape, is that he's either the last player off the line or he's one of the last players off the line. And it wasn't, people tried to attribute it to his injury when he got to the pros. This is something I saw with him consistently when I was evaluating him. It wasn't just something that happened after his foot injury. His entire time there, his ball get off was slow. And then his hand usage, right? He only move he really had was like the stick move, like the long arm, and he really didn't have a counter off of that. Like late in the senior year, he kind of tried to get a little like rip move or a little swim move, but no, it wasn't great technique on there. So it was those things that I noticed, like, yo, like if he doesn't, hone in on his technique, like it's not gonna matter like how long his arms are, because his technique is trash. So I think obviously Patrick Graham and Robbie Leonard, they had a plan for him, and they executed one half of that plan, and that was getting him inside, getting him more used to using his hands, more used to having to react quickly, and hopefully he can improve on his ball get off. Some of that is natural. Some people are just, it's like running track. Like some people are just fast off the line, and it's not something that can necessarily be taught. It can be improved upon, but it's not necessarily something you can like teach. So that's something he's gonna probably struggle with his entire career. But you saw those arms. He doesn't have to be the fastest guy off the line. He just has to be. Right. He can't be the last person, because he has some vines for arms. So if he can get his hands on guys quicker, he can really do some damage. And if he can develop a counter, to get a hump move, I think, like I think back to the preseason game last year, what when he was playing against Dallas, and all people talked about was, oh, you see how he bull rushed the Dallas guy? Yeah, he bull rushed him, but he didn't make a play because he couldn't disengage. So if he would have hit him with the hump move, get that guy off you, get to the quarterback. So those are all things he has to improve on, and the stuff that he didn't do in college and he didn't do his first year in the pros. But I think, with proper coaching, all that stuff can be improved upon.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, you're right, bro. And it was that play that really had me thinking, like, he's like a puppy, a big puppy with big paws, not knowing what to do with his body. Because he had that explosive, he had that tackle on skates, but he didn't make the play. Now, what you would hope for down the line is that he gets his head up in that situation. He sheds the blocker a lot faster, and he has his face. His head is on a swivel, trying to make the play right after that. Right. That's what you're hoping for, the technique to get polished, and like you said, a counter move. What are you doing if you're getting off the ball too slow? I mean, we're hoping that you have the vision that you have a tackle already out there with his hands out, that you can give him swipe, and then you put in that big, that long arm right in his chest and put him in the backfield. That's what you're hoping for, or giving him one of these, ripping through, keeping that bend going, using your athleticism to get past you, to get past him in a pass rushing situation. So that's what you're hoping for, because there are ways to kind of get around having a slow get off, but you got to have the vision, and you got to be looking down the field and not being a giant puppy with big paws and not knowing what to do with your body.
So when we say slow get off, right, and let the people know, man, because some people they wanna know this, man. And is this a lack of attention to detail, or is this more of a physical thing that either you got it or you don't? You know what I mean? Or is it just attention to detail, man? Hey, look, you hear Max Crosby talk about like how he, right from his rookie season, he wanted to improve on his get off and all that, and you could see how like Max Crosby might be one of the fastest guys off the ball, like coming off the edge. You know what I mean? And he's not. I want to say he's a speed rusher, but he's just You know what I mean? He's on it, bro. Yeah. So
you got to work a lot on that quick twitch muscles. Those that right off the line, having that quick reaction, like that quick twitch. You don't have to be fast, but you have to be quick. That's the difference, right? Because Max Crosby, like I said, he's not physically imposing. He's not one of those guys that is super fast, but what he does have is that quick twitch initially off the ball to where you got to deal with it in that split second. On top of that, if you have good intuition as a defender and you're making plays, it slows the game down if you can see the offense and kind of anticipate what is happening before it even happens. That makes you a faster player. So, the question that you asked was the get off. Can you practice that? That's something that you would practice when you start being a pass rusher in the high school level. I remember that coach has the ball on the stick and he's moving he's kind of moving the ball, or he's like, the ball, you watch the ball make sure you move when the ball moves, not what you're hearing, but more of watching the ball, right? I remember the coach would have the ball on the stick, and you would be like, ooh, he'd be barking at you the whole time, but you have to kind of hold your water, and then as soon as he moves that stick, you're taking off. You're pretty much like a rocket right out of there. That was one of the things that we would do to get your get off right. But that's weight room. That's a little bit of track, right? I mean, I did a little bit of track to get that quick get off right off the jump. It's working those fast twitch muscles, doing a lot of conditioning that can help that. So I'm hoping that he's working on that fast twitch muscles to get that going and get him off the ball quickly. So that's kind of what we're looking at as far as get off. And I mean, in comparison, this dude is a supreme athlete. For us to be like, oh yeah, he has a slow get off. Like, bro, he's probably faster than all three of us combined. Like
exactly.
like the dude is supremely quick. But as far as being that top defensive end, you got to have that elite speed, that elite quickness right off the jump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then hey, you know what? Hey, and I'm glad he recognized it. He brought it up. He made it a point to address it and say it in the presser. And I'm sure he talked about Max Crosby, and he also went on to talk about how, how he can learn from Christian Wilkins in the inside, and then obviously you got Max, and the entire D-line, the team. He said a lot of good things, man. And Severe mentioned this, like he looked like a lot more confident. I agree 100%. Like he didn't look like the timid rookie that we seen his first year. He looked a lot more confident speaking in front of the media. And I'm sure, man, that, like we talked about earlier, man, experience comes with what comes with experience is going to be confidence. So, hey, man, we're hoping for big things for Tyree Wilson. That being said, there was another rookie, second-year player at this point now, that was able to speak to the media, and Michael Mayer was able to talk to the media. So let me go ahead and put this on the screen, and then we can react to what he had to say about Getsy's offense. Let's see here. Here we go.
What do you like about the way Luke uses tight ends in this offense?
Yeah, Cole Kmet from Notre Dame for the Chicago Bears, so I'm pretty good buddies with him. So I talked to him, and he said he loves Getsy. Loves Steck, my tight ends coach. And obviously, he just got a big-time contract, and he's got a ton of balls his way. So from everything I've seen and everything I've heard and learned, Getsy's offense is very good for tight ends. It's very good for offenses and scoring points. So we're excited about that.
So there you have it, man. Michael Mayer is excited about this offense. He was able to talk about, he name dropped there, Cole Kmet, current tight end for the Chicago Bears, who was also coached by Luke Getsy last couple seasons, at least last season. He was able to coach him up and have probably one of his best seasons of his career. So you could tell, Michael Mayer is excited. I know a lot of people talked about Brock Bowers. Everybody's talking about the Brock Bowers pick. But what are your thoughts, Mike, on what Mayer was able to say here, man? Do you think this is just a sign that this offense is going to be explosive?
Yeah, there's a lot of promise with this offense, man. I mean, I think he's shown that he's really excited about what's going on. And kind of comparing what Getsy did with Cole Kmet. I mean, Cole Kmet, to me, he's not one of them top tight ends in the league, but Cole Kmet did very well under that offense. He did pretty decent. So just imagine what you can do with somebody of a Michael Mayer pedigree, a healthy Michael Mayer that looks like he's ready to go. In a lot better shape this year, a lot better mindset this year. It's showing a lot of potential. It has a chance to be something special, especially with we talked about it, right? When you have two tight ends that can stretch the field and show their athletic prowess on that offense, it's showing a lot of promise. And side note on that, right? Michael Mayer looks like a completely different guy too. We said the same thing about Tyree Wilson, kind of his whole demeanor from last year in comparison. Mm-hmm. He seems a lot more outgoing, a lot more outspoken, and I don't know if it's a testament to what Coach Pierce is kind of bringing mentality wise to the team. He's kind of
empowering
his
the players.
Mentality, empowering, or just his mentality as a coach and his personality is kind of rubbing off on everybody else. But you see a big difference in these guys as they speak. They seem a lot more confident. They seem a lot more. The energy is high, and it even said on in that press conference as well that now we're celebrating touchdowns. We're excited about playing the game, where it seemed like that they weren't doing that last year. He even hinted that we weren't doing that last year. He didn't seem like he was having fun with the game. So, having a tight end like Michael Mayer, of his prowess, of his pedigree coming out of college, somebody who's motivated now and somebody who can bring the athleticism that he did in Notre Dame. I'm excited for him, man.
Yeah. He I think he said that he was like what 255. Both Tyree and Mayer said they're both at 255. So we'll see what happens when the season rolls around. But you could tell, like, I agree, man. You could tell like he was a lot more confident. He had a lot of things to say, interesting things to say as well, like about how you kind of mentioned it, like he there are some days where he didn't want to come in last year. And it was just it was interesting for him to say that, especially because we all know the McDaniels situation. Everybody's gonna you know what it is. Everybody's always gonna try to connect the dots and be like, oh man, why is he saying that? Is it because of McDaniels? But it could also be because he hit the rookie wall. He struggled. That offense. He mentioned how tough that offense was, man. But he talks about how simple this offense is, meaning that it's easier for him to, like, I guess it's an easier offense for him to get at least early on. He's still in the process of learning it. But what do you see from Michael Mayer this year, Severe? I mean, do you think he's gonna be that guy? Like, I know everybody's talking about Brock Bowers, but we didn't get a chance to talk about this on Monday's show. But is it gonna be the Brock Bowers? Is it gonna be the Michael Mayer show? Is it gonna be the Brock Bowers show? Is it gonna be the Brock and Mayer show? Like, what is it gonna look like next season?
Yeah, man. I think that it's going to probably be Brock Bowers between the 20s. And once you get into the red zone where things get a little bit more compact and it's more about quickness and technique and, ability to beat guys with releases and route running, I think that's where, and Michael Mayer is he's more of a jump ball 50-50 player than Brock Bowers is. And that's something he did really well at Georgia. I think that's kind of where Michael Mayer his skill set will shine. I think, man, you talked about this offline, but just like with Devontae, Michael Mayer was a basketball player in high school. And usually guys that have that basketball background, they're good route runners, but they're really good with their releases. And that's one thing I noticed about Brock Bowers at Notre Dame. He had really good releases, and he was really good at being able to shift his weight and run routes. And that's something that Brock Bowers wasn't as good with. So I think that, between the 20s, Brock Bowers, he can like there's generally they say there's three ways to beat a guy on a route, right? You beat him with the release, you beat him on the stem, or you beat him with the break. Brock Bowers is really good at threatening the guy's leverage and beating him on the stem. And then, when the leverage is threatened, then he can kind of beat you on the break because they're worried about him running past you. Michael Mayer can beat you on the release and he can beat you on the break, but not necessarily with athleticism, but with technique. But with him slimming down and maybe getting a little bit faster, maybe he adds that extra dimension where he can beat you on the stem as well. So it's going to be interesting to see, man. I'm expecting some big things out of Michael Mayer this year, and just the chemistry he has with AOC. I think they've been building that, and he picked last year. He talked about he struggled in the first half because he had difficulty picking up the offense, and he said about midway through the year, he kind of got a better grasp on the offense, and that's kind of where we saw his play, improve. And then, of course, unfortunately, he got hurt. So, hopefully this year, a little bit of a simpler offense. Maybe he grasps it a little bit faster. He can get off to a quicker start.
And he did, like, I'm looking at Brock Bowers. He did have 13 touchdowns as a freshman, and I'm curious to see, like, the majority of those touchdowns, where did they come from? Were they like long touchdowns? Were they in the red zone? You know what I mean? That's going to be interesting to see, but it's a good problem to have, man, because like Michael Mayer said, man, like he's confident in the Getsy offense because they're going to be able to score points, and hopefully they do, man, because last year the Raiders were one of the lowest scoring offenses in the NFL last year, so they can only go up. So I think the more talent they have on offense, I think I think McDaniel's situation, I think, kind of weighed on the team offensively. You could tell everything was just out of sync. I don't think we're going to see that this year. I think there's too much talent. There's too much talent for this not to work, man. I'm not trying to see, you know what I mean? Like Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Michael Mayer, it's just, come on. Like, Getsy's going to do something with this at the very least. But we'll see, man, because he is one of those wild cards because we don't really know how this offense is going to look like under Getsy. But that being said, yeah, so, hey, look, Michael Mayer, I'm excited, man. I like what the rookies, or not the rookies, the second-year players had to say. Was there anything that you guys got from the pressers? Tom McMahon also spoke, special teams coordinator. He could really emphasize the rule changes, and he's super excited. He is super excited about the rule changes, man. And also, Getsy was able also to talk to the media as well, man. Is there anything you guys want to add to what was said between those coaches?
Yeah, I mean, the special teams aspect, we have to consider that a little bit more as Raider fans when it comes to evaluating, breaking down this team and what we bring to the table. For years, before they, after they started changing that the initial kickoff rules from what we grew up knowing and seeing over the years, where the recent years where they were kicking it in the end zone and there was no returns, we're not getting none of that no more. We're going to be seeing returns every time, and I think guys like Lobby, guys like Tucker, like DJ Turner, possibly, these are guys that can be a big factor into us, scoring out of special teams and kickoff situations. Like that is not being spoken enough, I think. And I think if we do it right, we could be one of the top special teams groups in the NFL. Especially, we got one of the better kickers in the league. And that was one thing that the coach also spoke about, was that, the kicker also has a big say in what's going on in special teams. You got to kick it in a certain area. You got to be strategic on how you kick it and where you kick it, so you can pin them far back, into their own territory. So it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of put it all together, but it's also going to be interesting to see what our kickoff team looks like, because we can actually make a difference in the game with special teams from this point forward.
Yeah, and it seems like the advantage is going to be the return team. The advantage is going to be with the return team, because they'll be able to get a head start as far as getting. And Dylan Lobby is going to be a guy that's going to be interesting, because that's probably going to be a way where he makes the team. That's special teams where he's going to make his bread and butter, at least early on. If he doesn't, start, or I don't want to say that he's going to start as a rookie, as a third down running back. That's going to be a tough battle, but at least in special teams. But Severe, anything that you got to add on, like maybe what Getsy had to say about the offense and what it could possibly look like in the presser?
Yeah, man. Getsy talked about, just the amount of weapons that he has at his disposal. And one thing I was excited to hear is just him talk about, thinking of creative ways to use these guys. And that was one of my biggest concerns that I had, especially with us drafting Brock Bowers. I think you have to be creative in how you use him in order to maximize his value, right? Like, you look at what Georgia did. Like I said, it was a lot of short stuff, a lot of tight end screens, a lot of handling the ball out of the backfield, like just a lot of stuff like that. And I didn't know how willing Getsy would be to do that kind of stuff, but he's sounding like he's going to be willing to get creative with this offense. So that was something I was excited to hear about. And just to piggyback on what Mike was saying, man, just the whole return thing. I think we spoke about this earlier when we first heard about the rule change. We said it's just going to, like, now the kick returner, that's a valuable position. And we know it's a valuable position because, Cordero Patterson, who was an older guy, not really much use as a receiver anymore, so much so that he was basically moved to running back. He just got a contract. I think it was like 2 years, $8 million, something like that. because he's probably the greatest kick returner of all time. So like now those guys, I think in the XFL where this rule was implemented, they got returns on like 90% of their kicks. As opposed to I think the NFL last year was something like 11% or something like that. So like those are extra touches. Like so 90% of the time that guy is touching the ball. Like you think about it, like the only people on the field touching the ball more than your kick returner are your quarterback and your center. Other than that, the kick returner is touching the ball more than anybody.
Man.
But that is an extremely valuable position now.
Yep. Hey man, that's a great point. That's a great point. Before we move on, this is something that we had on Monday's show that we definitely wanted to show, but it got cut short. But just real quickly, man, because we're talking about Michael Mayer, and obviously we drafted Brock Bowers at number 13. Question: who will have a bigger season, Michael Mayer or Brock Bowers?
You want to take it, Mike? You want to take it, Mike?
I like the way you broke it down, bro. As far as between the 20s, it's going to be I see it the way you see it. It's going to be the Brock Bowers show. He's going to have probably the majority of the yardage, likely. But I think that Michael Mayer can have the majority of the touchdowns. I could see a 55-45 split as far as yards go. So, advantage Bowers in that one. And then the touchdowns, catches is going to probably be more catches for Bowers in that situation. Yeah, and then Michael Mayer being more effective in the red zone and getting a lot of touchdowns. I think he can be a touchdown machine. I think he can go double digits if we do it right in the red zone, as well as getting, in certain situations, he'll get his touches, in between the 20s as well. But I think that Michael Mayer is going to be the more primary target when it comes into the red zone. So that's I can see, if I had to answer the question, whatever you value, is it the yardage or is it the touchdowns that you value? If you value the touchdowns, then it's going to be Michael Mayer having a better season. If you value the yardage, then it's going to be Brock Bowers. Me personally, I value the touchdown, so I would say Michael Mayer has a slight advantage over that one.
Okay. Severe, who you going with, man, as far as who's going to have a bigger season?
I was going to surprise people and say Brock Bowers, but nah, man. It's going to go. I'm going to go Michael Mayer as well, man. I think you can't discount experience in the NFL. And just having that year under his belt, and it's not like Michael Mayer was some slouch, he was a damn good tight end prospect, and on a lot of people's boards he was the number one tight end prospect last year, and he ended up going to be in the third tight end taken, I believe, but he was a very productive player in college with very spotty quarterback play. So I think he's going to be very effective in the league. I think his improvement as a blocker is going to, that can't be discounted. I don't think we take that into account enough in terms of contributions from that particular position. But I think that's just added value right there. So I already said, and I think between the 20s it's going to be more so Brock Bowers. But I think once you get down to the red zone, we're going to have a lot of stuff where Michael Mayer can run a fade. It's in your intro. Michael Mayer running the fade, catching the 50-50 ball over a guy, right? We can have some stuff where Michael Mayer starts out as a blocker and then he leaks out and he gets a catch. I think teams will try to do that stuff. They'll try to do that stuff with Brock Bowers. Georgia did it with Brock Bowers as well, but I don't think Brock Bowers is he's a willing blocker, but I don't think he's as good of a blocker as Michael Mayer, especially if Michael Mayer improved as much as he said he has, and what we saw down the stretch last year.
Yeah. Now, I hear you, man, and I'm not. And we did this. I did this poll a couple days ago. Raider Nation, man, they're going all in on Brock Bowers, man. They're super excited about him. Yeah. They think Brock Bowers is going to be the guy that's going to be way more productive. It looks like, or at least more productive than Michael Mayer. But I'm leaning towards Michael Mayer too as well. I'm not gonna lie. I just like what I seen from him in that presser. I like that he's a second-year player. I felt like he was underutilized last year. I don't think it was a lack of talent. I understand that he probably had some rookie growing pains. He did admit that he didn't get the offense until like week 8. Which hey, he there's a little bit of struggling there, but I don't think the Raiders will really incorporate him in the offense the first 8 games, especially with McDaniels at head coach. Like they literally didn't have him out there in passing, like passing situations where that's a real strength for him. They were trying to, for some reason, they just wanted to keep him in as a blocker, and maybe that was their plan for him. Maybe they wanted him to improve of that part of his game, and the only way you could do that is by experience. But I felt like we kind of like didn't utilize his strength, you know what I mean, as far as his hands, his ability to get open, use his body, like Severe said, be that 50-50 ball guy that you could probably target in the end zone. So I'm going with Michael Mayer's second year. I think he could. I think he has a good chemistry with AOC. I think he's been there with the quarterbacks. Now, it's literally tomato. Like this is literally this easily could be Brock Bowers, and I wouldn't be surprised. But
yeah,
I'm going Mayer. I just have a feeling that I think Mayer is just gonna be like, you know what? Like he's gonna be motivated. He's like, oh, y'all drafted a tight end. Okay, all right. Well, y'all don't know what y'all got, and I'm sure, and Mayer being a very competitive guy. This is basically number 1A and 1B at the college the last couple years before I think he was a finalist for the top tight end in the NFL. Obviously, the award went to Brock Bowers. So I'm sure he's like, all right, you know what? You on my team now? All right, we'll see.
Here we go, right?
Here we go, man. So, but yeah, man. Let's move it along, man. Hey, look, man, it's been a great show so far, man. Let's move along to one of our favorite segments of the day, man. And that's comments of the week, man. Look, we love this, man. We get to talk to the people, man. We see these comments after the show, man. Some good, some bad, you know what I mean? But we're gonna get to it. We're gonna address all the comments, whether good, positive, bad, whatever you want to call it. The good, bad. We should call it the good, bad, and ugly, man. That's what we should call it, man.
Facts.
The good, bad, ugly. We'll have a super positive one, obviously a bad one, and then just straight ugly. Like, you know what? We go in, but let me go ahead and put the first one on the screen, and let's see here. Let me go ahead and put this on here. I think I had this. I think this one might be for Big Mike. And this is from Tano Raider, man. Shout out to you, man. Appreciate the comment. He says, some complain about taking the best player available, but imagine where we'd be at if all we drafted was the best player for the last 20 years. Salute to the guys on the content, man. Appreciate you, man. So this is him kind of like saying, you know what, like that best player available strategy, he's kind of taking a shot at it, man. What are your thoughts on this, Mike?
I don't know. I saw it a little bit differently than that, man. Shout out to Taino Raider. If we did draft in the last 20 years the best player available, I mean, if you go down a long list of guys that we did, kind of miss on, I don't know. It's a Hall of Fame who's who, starting from Megatron, Adrian Peterson, you name it. I don't know, Ed Reed, Derrick Henry over the years. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I misread it. You are right. I did misread it. Yeah. Whew. That's a great point.
So I agree, man. If we would have just won the best player available, whether it's first round or even second round, even third round, there are guys. I mean, we can go down the long list of people that we probably should have went with as far as best player available. And, that could have equated to a lot of success, whether it's the playoffs or even, we be, hoisting that Lombardi at some point. You're absolutely right. And I hate doing that kind of stuff because, it's a what if kind of situation, the NFL is very, very full. It's full of talent, right? Mm-hmm. But a lot of times this talent doesn't become who they are if they don't have the proper coaching, the proper scenario, the proper, you have the guys around you to make it happen. So we can easily say that these guys will work out, because of, you kind of looking back at it in hindsight, like, oh, this dude was a sure shot Hall of Famer. And that could very well be the case. But sometimes a good player is not in a good situation and it doesn't work out. So it's hard to say, but
Right.
I hear you on that one. But I tend to lean towards agreeing with Taino Raider on this one. If we would have went best player available in some of those years, we could have been definitely a playoff team at some point.
I agree with that, man. You know what? It's funny. I've thought about that. Like, we've watched sports long enough where we've seen like the most talented players. We've seen busts. We've seen great players, and then you'll see that a lot of the players that have a lot of success, they go to great situations.
Yeah,
it's not like they're going to situations where everything is like the whole organization is trash, the coaching staff is trash, and then they're just great players. This is kind of rare. But for the most part, they're going to a great situation in some form or fashion, like whether that's coaching, whether that's, the organization just able to put a team together, the players around them, whatever the case may be. I feel like it's like a combination of like that player being great, and then there's some parts around him that also go along and work well with him. So I agree with that too. But let's move it along, man. That was a great comment. I actually misread it the first time. Big Mike, he caught it, but I appreciate the comment. But yeah, I'm trying to think like, man, this is a conversation that we could have for hours, man, about players that the Raiders could have drafted.
Sure, man.
Whew, man, it's crazy. It's crazy.
You're getting down a rabbit hole on that one. Oh yeah, by the way, Taino Raider, man, I met him in Jersey back in November. He bought beers the whole night, man. So salute to you once again, man. Thanks for the love, man. Thanks for the support, bro.
Man, appreciate that, man. Hey, man, he a real one, man. Appreciate it, man.
Sir.
Facts.
So let's move it along, man. This is for Severe Raider, man. This right here is from Reese Rock. He says, at worst, we be the Telesco Raiders taking the best prospects at receiver or tight end. No way we get no one in 20 years like we've had. We've tried it the Raider way, picking our players instead of the best players, and that got us here. Sorry, as you already know, until proven otherwise. Congratulations on naming three times. We went for a name and it crapped out. The formula of taking the best player or best player on a tape is still better than some scheme fit we tried and failed at. There's no point of film study or breakdown if the film of such player looks good, but nah, he's just a bust. In other words, big boy, Severe, boy, stop.
Boy, stop. Right back at you, brother. So, I mean, there's so many ways for me to attack this comment. Because first of all, right now, I just want to start with this. The number one problem people had with Josh McDaniels was that he wasn't doing things the right way. Now people are like, well, bro, we need to just get rid of the right way. What are we doing it the right way for? Like, just stop doing things the right way. So, so off top, you already losing me right there. Secondly, the best player available is not always the route to go, especially if that guy doesn't fit your scheme, right? According to most scouts, Kevin White was the best receiver in the draft class that we drafted Amari Cooper in. Mm-hmm. Jeff Okudah was the best cornerback in the class that AJ Terrell was drafted in, that Jalen Johnson was drafted in. Robert Gallery was a can't-miss prospect. Charles Rogers was a can't-miss wide receiver prospect. Big Mike Williams was a can't-miss wide receiver prospect. So drafting the best player available is not always the route to go, especially if that player doesn't fit your scheme. So you have to look at those things. You have to look at, how is this talented player going to fit in my offense? There are some offense, we'll take it away from tight end, take it away from wide receivers. There are some linemen that are fits in zone systems. If you put them in a power or a gap system, they will fail. There are some guys that are power or gap linemen. If you put them in a zone system, they will fail. There are some quarterbacks that hey, if you get this guy in the West Coast system, he's going to be a success, right? If you put this guy in a more vertical system, he's going to fail. So you have to take all of that into account. That is called proper scouting. The reason why we haven't done well in the draft is because we've ignored those things. Even if you look at the year we drafted Cleveland Farrell, right? The best player at that time, or the probably the highest rated prospect, most people would have said was Ed Oliver. But we didn't need a defensive tackle, or we didn't feel we needed a defensive tackle. We felt we needed an edge. So if we weren't going to go with the best edge, maybe it would have been Josh Allen. But no, Josh Allen, he didn't necessarily fit in Paul Guenther's system, and he struggled his first few years with the Jaguars until he got in a better system. So you have to take all of that stuff into account. So I just think that, like, people want to reinvent the wheel. Like, NFL scouts have been doing this for a long time, and when they scout these players, they have to take into account what the coaching staff will do with them. How are they going to use them? How does this cog fit in this wheel? And if it's not a fit, then that's just a wasted draft pick. So you have to be intelligent with these things, in my opinion. And I don't think always taking the best player available is the route to go. Like, no, if we took the best player available last year, maybe it would have worked out, because it would probably been Bijan Robinson. Maybe we'd still had a shot. We still had a shot at Bijan Robinson at that time. Did he go before us? Did Bijan go before us? I don't recall. But
I think he went 8th or something like that.
He went after.
So it's like no, it's like Bijan Robinson might have been the best player in the draft. Nobody was saying, pounding the table, why the hell why didn't we draft Bijan Robinson? First of all, because it wasn't a position of need, and we don't value running backs that high, in the draft. So like, all this stuff factors into your decision. So it's not as easy as, oh, this guy looks the best on film, let's just take him, because then you could end up like as you said, you can end up with 5 of the best receivers in the NFL and terrible quarterback and terrible offensive line play, because you're just drafting the best player that comes up at your pick every time. And whether that pick is a receiver or a tight end, you're just going to take them. Like think about it. That doesn't make any sense at all, right? Like, you want to diversify. Even if you're investing, you don't want to say, hey, I'm going to invest all my money in the top 5, medicinal companies, because then if something bad happens with in that industry, then all those stocks tank. That's why they say diversify your bonds, nigga. Like,
Damn, mic drop. Hey, look, man. Hey, Severe, you made a great point, man. The scouts are not going to be. They're not going to scout players for themselves. They're just not going to scout players. They're going to scout players for the coaching staff. Like, they're going to ask them all the questions. They're going to figure out what type of system. So I get that 100%. And there's a lot of moving parts too. Yeah, like I agree. Like, I always thought that best player available, like, it's not as simple as like what people make it seem like. Oh yeah, you should get the best player available. Like, it only makes sense if the team values that player enough. Like, it only is. You made some really valid points, man. But great comeback to this comment. I mean, it wasn't a comeback. Hey, Reese Rock, man, appreciate you commenting, man. Severe, appreciate you, man. Severe just had a good take, and he had a mic drop moment. But hey, man, last but definitely not least, man, my guy, man, Walt, appreciate you for the comment. And he man, Walt's always supporting, leaving comments, man. I appreciate you, my guy. He says, I will say and understand your concern of Getsy, and rightfully so. I agree. Okay, we can both agree on that, right? But I will say I truly believe in Joe Philbin, which is a assistant they hired early in the offseason, which was a big hire too. That's another assistant coach that has head coaching experience on the staff, which is big for a guy like Antonio Pierce, especially. Will help Getsy a ton to be the best OC he can be. So that's a good take, because I think when we heard Joe Philbin, we all kind of thought about like, oh man, he's a former head coach. That's great for AP, the experience. But he's also been an offensive coordinator, so I guess he can possibly be in the room and have some input when it comes to that as well. So he says he got a head coach job in Miami because of his OC work with the Packers. And as for Brock Bowers, ever since he stepped on the field as a freshman, 13 touchdowns at Georgia for 3 years, two national championships. He was always the best player on the field. Bowers is the closest thing in this year's draft to being a blue chipper. I will say though, Georgia did have some talented teams. It wasn't just Brock Bowers, man. Like they have guys getting drafted in the first round, like man, it's just it is what it is, man. They're that team right now. But I agree, man. I think Joe Philbin could be an asset for Getsy, but it's still going to be a big question mark at the end of the day. Like, it's not like he was with the Chicago Bears as an offensive coordinator. You know, as much as you want to talk about his success with the Green Bay Packers, he wasn't the guy. You know, the head coach was the offensive play caller. He wasn't calling plays. A lot of people talked about, oh, well, Aaron Rodgers won MVPs under him, but this goes back to what Severe just said right now. There's a lot of moving parts. You know, it's the fact that, you know, Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. He's going to get MVPs if that's what he wants to do. There's the fact that there's another play caller. I just mentioned that. And, you know, it's just there's so many different things that go into it. And I think Getsy had his chance with the Chicago Bears to show him and see if he's that guy. And I'm not sure if he sold us on that. We've seen a little bit of a run game. I know the Chicago Bears were able to be one of the best running offenses in the NFL. We remember that Chicago Bear game against the Raiders, where you know Chicago literally was running the ball all over us. And you know, hey, AP kind of mentioned that when talking about Getsy. But that being said, let's not forget this: Getsy, at the end of the day, wasn't the first option. He was the backup. He's the backup. We got to remember that. He wasn't the guy. Now, if he was the guy, then I would be a little bit more confident. But he wasn't. He was the backup. He was the fallback option after all of the OC options kind of dried up, because the Raiders kind of like early on, they probably targeted the OC that ended up going to the Commanders in
Kingsbury.
Cliff Kingsbury. They thought they had their guy. And if you remember that same day that the news was coming out about Cliff Kingsbury being the OC for the Raiders, one of the OCs that they interviewed ended up going to the Patriots. I'm sure they informed him and said, we're going to go with Cliff Kingsbury. He ends up going to the Patriots. It was a former offensive coordinator for the Browns, Alex Van Pelton. So you can see like how tough a situation the Raiders were in when, you know, Cliff Kingsbury decided to like change his mind. It kind of left them with not a lot of options. They end up going with their backup option in Getsy. Hopefully it works out, but it's not crazy to say that, hey, this is one of the big question marks going into next season. We can talk about quarterback. We can talk about that run game, you know, due to the experience, and obviously offensive coordinator. That's a big hire when your coach is a defensive coordinator. We're confident about the defense. I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty confident. This is the most confident I've been going into the offseason, going into the next season as far as the defense goes. It's third year in the system, but the offense, we've seen it's not about just having the players. You got to have the system. You got to have the cohesiveness of an offense, and everybody got to be on the same page. We have the weapons, but do we have the system? Do we have the play caller? Do we have the quarterback? You know, we're still trying to figure that out. But Getsy's still a big question mark. As far as Brock Bowers, I'm excited about him, man. At first I was shocked about him, but and I'm gonna keep saying this. I'm gonna keep saying this, and I hope people will understand this about Brock Bowers. And hopefully, you guys can speak to this a little bit about Brock. If he's not a great player for the Raiders, if he doesn't turn out to be a great player, if he doesn't develop into a great player, would you say that it's a bad pick at pick number 13? If his ceiling is a good player, Just based off the fact that it was a luxury pick. It wasn't a position of need. It was a luxury pick. So when you draft a guy, you're thinking like, this is a guy like, man, it's a game changer. We have to draft. He best player available. We just got done talking about that. Do y'all think that if he just caps out at just being a good player, a good to solid player? Do you think that, because I'm sure after pick 13, there's going to be some good players that pan out for some of these teams. You know what I mean? It could be Fuaga, who went a pick after. It could be one of the corners that were drafted. You know what I mean? And those are big positions of need for us. What are your thoughts on that, man? Do you think that for Brock Bowers, would you say that in order to justify the pick at 13, he has to be a great player, or he has to develop into a great player?
It depends on what the guys that were picked after and the ones that we were actually, projected to pick, like a Fuaga, like a Terry and Arnold, like a Quinyon Mitchell. Those guys, if they turn out to be all pros and Brock Bowers is just a decent guy, then I would say that the pick wasn't the ideal pick. But if those guys don't really pan out the way we think they're going to pan out, and Brock Bowers is just, decent, I say that we made the right pick in that situation.
Okay.
It depends. It's a lot of things that have to happen. There's a lot. It's not just a black and white type of deal. It's, the guys that we were projected to pick, what did they do? Where are they? And in comparison to what we're doing as well. So it's not black and white.
It's not black and white. I get you, Severe. What do you think that if he just caps out as a good player, do you think that pick right there is just not going to be? Because I'm not gonna lie, it is a luxury pick. It is a luxury pick. It's a luxury pick. Now, how do you justify a luxury pick? If he's a great player for the Raiders, I don't think anybody's gonna be complaining. But if he turns out to be a good player, and then we're still trying to figure out who our corner is, we're still trying to figure out that O-line, you know what I mean? And other good players were drafted after pick number 13 at the positions that we need, then I'm kind of looking at it like, man, like that's a tough pick at 13, and he didn't really turn out to be like as a great a player as we want him to be. And let's say Michael Mayer becomes that elite tight end, and Brock Bowers is just that good, complimentary tight end for the Raiders. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just throwing it out there and like letting people think like, hey, because I think everybody's kind of like, oh, because based off some of the comments that we're reading, they're all talking about best player available, and they're talking about Brock Bowers. But if Brock Bowers is just a solid, good player, and some of the players pan out after pick 13, does it make sense? Severe, do you think that's the case?
I think it's a lot of context that would have to be provided into that. I think Mike, he talked about some of that context. Like, we look at all these players that we passed on, and you got to think about, like, were any of these guys people really under serious consideration for when we were drafting? Like, were we really going to draft Ed Reed? Was that really because we passed on Ed Reed twice. We took Philip Buchanan and we took Napoleon Harris. So, like, was Ed Reed really even under consideration, right? I think at that time, that was 2002, so we would have had like Rod Woodson and somebody else at safety. So was that even really a consideration for us at all? So we have to look at, like, so that's the difference with this situation, right? And like, we can point back to the Jamarcus Russell, Kevin Johnson situation, because everybody knew, like, we needed a wide receiver. We were in the midst of struggles at that position. We hadn't had, a top tier guy in a long time, but we also needed a quarterback. It was clear who was the better prospect, but we went with, what we felt was the best player at a more important position. So it's always going to be no, it's always going to be some sort of revisionist history. People want to look back like, oh my God, like how can, like, perfect example, the Bears passed on Patrick Mahomes, right? For Mitch Trubisky, because Mitch Trubisky was the clear-cut number one prospect. You remember it, like Deshaun Watson was, in most people's opinion, a better prospect than Patrick Mahomes, right? But know what they did with Patrick Mahomes? They went with the guy who they thought would fit their off. Oh my goodness. They went with the guy they felt could fit their offense. And look how that turned out, right? So all this context would need to be added. In my opinion, I think he has to be like a multiple-time Pro Bowler. He has to be one of the best tight ends in the league for like throughout the duration of his rookie contract for him to justify being picked, especially over other guys, especially when, like I said, in my opinion, we needed a right tackle. We needed a number 2 cornerback. So he would need to be one of the best players at his position for the duration of the 5 years that he's with us at the very least.
Yeah, and I agree. We tend to do this. We tend to like, oh well, if we would have picked this guy, you know what I mean? Because this guy at pick whatever got picked and he was a good player. But what I'm saying is, if the players, and I'm not just saying any player. I'm not saying some running back or some other position of that we don't need. What I'm saying is that if Brock Bowers turns out to be a good player, and the picks after us, where there were corners taken and their offensive linemen taken, they turn out to play. They turn out to be good, if not great players. Then when you start thinking about it, that's when you kind of like, that's when you can really you could be real critical of that pick at 13. It's like, we went luxury pick at tight end, and Michael Mayer is just as good of a player, if not better. That's when you kind of question that pick. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that if he's a great player, I don't think we're never going to talk about this ever again.
No, never. Yeah, never talk about it again. Like perfect. Like you think about the year we drafted Cleveland Farrell, right? In my opinion, the best player on the board was Jeffrey Simmons. But there was no way in the world we were going to draft Jeffrey Simmons, just because of, he had some off-field stuff and some other things going on. So there's no way in the world we're going to. But now you look at it like, man, like the Raiders, like, look, they had Jeffrey Simmons, So it's always like, there's context that needs to be added to these things. And now that we're in the moment and we know, we understand the context. But years now, people aren't going to look at, like people are going to forget like Brock Bowers was that guy. They're good. Like if somebody's behind him is like a Hall of Fame player, like if Quinyon Mitchell turns out to be a Hall of Famer, or if Taron Arnold turns out to be a Hall of Famer, they're not going to be like, oh man, like Brock Bowers was that guy at tight end. They're like, bro, the Raiders passed on Quinyon. They could have had Quinyon Mitchell. They could have had Taron Arnold. Like that's all they're going to think about. So it's but as you said, if he turns out to be a great player, that's all. At the end of the day, that's all that's going to matter.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see, man. I don't know. That's the way I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it like, hey, man, like if this dude is just a good or solid player, I mean, and we already have another tight end on the roster. It's like, come on, he has to be better than that. He has to be a game changer. He has to be everything that we think he is. Drafting him, and I'm not saying that he won't be, but that's my outlook on it. That's the way I look at it. I look like if he doesn't turn out to be that guy, that game changer at that tight end position, that great player at that tight end position, then you can start critiquing it a little bit more, because it is a luxury pick at the end of the day. But we appreciate the comments, man. That wraps up comments of the week, man. It's been a great show. Appreciate everybody coming through. Make sure to clock in, hit that like button, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. This is going to be all over our channel, so make sure to like all the videos, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. Man, Mike, let the people know, man, what they can look forward to, where they can find you, all that good stuff.
Yep, Big Mike Raider across the board, whether it's X, whether it's IG, whether it's YouTube, farmersonly.com, all of the above, man. Big Mike Raider. You can find me across the board. And yeah, man. Once the season gets picked up, we got a lot of things in store for you guys. I gotta get with Severe so we can get this Severe Truth thing locked and loaded for PlanetRaiders.com. And once that gets going, man, you guys are gonna be definitely pleased with that one.
There you go. There you go. Severe, man. Let the people know where they can find you, what to look forward to.
Man, you guys already know what it is, man. This Severe Raider on YouTube, this Severe Raider on IG, this Severe Raider on X, the Severe Raider on TikTok, the Severe Raider on Snapchat, the Severe Raider at your mama's. I'm messing now, but no, just the Severe Raider, man. Like you said, about to hop on this Planet Raiders thing, man. You already know where we at every Monday night, man. You know, the 50-50 show, doing our thing. I'm dropping some more stuff too. Getting my live set up, bro. I'm about to start going live soon, man. So I got some family stuff going on, but I'm gonna get a day together, man, and start going live too, man. So y'all can talk your junk in the comments, man. I can snipe y'all in real time. I have to wait for comments of the week.
Yes, sir. Hey, man. Hey, like Severe said, man. Hey, look, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and yeah, we are going to be, as usual, every Monday, 50-50 show. We go live every week, and obviously we collab with Big Mike, and we got to figure out a name. Like, every time I'm thinking of, I'm like, nah, we gotta say something. So you know what would be a big, huge help? The chat. Let us know, man. Let us know in the chat. Let us know in the comment section. Hey, give us some ideas of what we can name this show, and whatever. Hey, the best name. We'll shout you out, and we'll make sure. And we're gonna name the show that, man. Moving forward, man, and hopefully we'll have something within. Hopefully we'll have something soon. But yeah, man, we gotta name it something. At this point, man, we've been doing this a little consistent, and with consistency comes, we got to name it something. Man.
Yeah, man.
Other than the collab, man, just we got to figure it out. But we appreciate.
Sounds like a Bay Area rap group.
The collab.
It sounds like a Bay Area rap group.
Hey, let us know, man. The collab, does that sound like a name for the show? Let us know. If there's something else different that you guys have in mind, let us know, man. And then you know what? I guess we'll put the best ones together, and then we'll have we could have like a poll and have people vote for it, and then I guess we can go for it like that. Or if it's something right off the bat, like if it's a great name, we're just gonna take it. We're just gonna go ahead and just name it. But if there's a lot of good ones that we like, we'll put it all together, and then we'll vote for it on a poll, and hopefully we'll be able to name this show, man, this collab soon, man. But like I said, man, hey, we appreciate everybody coming through. Like, comment, subscribe, clock in at this point, clock out, like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification, all that good stuff, man. Till next time. All right, y'all. Peace.
Just win, baby. Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.